All right, I think we're going to get started. Want to make sure my audio is pristine. Um, all right, welcome to the Business Troubleshooters Workshop, everyone. We're going to take it in a little bit of a different direction today. I know that last week we were focused on triage and stopping the bleeding and SBA loans and stimulus packages, and I would hope I'm not offending anyone who is giving content, but I would kind of put that stuff in the nerdy numbers category. And today we're going to shift focus to actual solutions, actual marketing. I think this is we can either look at this next 90 days as opportunity or look at it as a terrible, horrible thing. And I think if we shift as business owners, we almost have no choice but to shift our mindset. So what we're going to do is I do want to bring on Andy though, because there's some updates. We're going to get nerdy for about 8 minutes, and then Andy's might have to jump off. But I wanted to get him in to give any updates on the SBA loans in that world. So I'm going to bring Andy on.
Hey, hello. Happy to be here this morning.
Yep.
Just wanted to give a few updates with respect to the program. As everyone's probably aware, the program did begin last Friday. The SBA started taking applications. Depending on what you're reading, Bank of America submitted anywhere between 10 and 15,000 of those applications on that first Friday. And it looks like the loans are starting to be processed. And based on a story I saw yesterday, late in the day, about a fifth of the 350 billion has already been allocated for purposes of those loans. So if you haven't talked to your banker, if you're interested in this program, you should reach out sooner rather than later. Last week on the call, we were talking about a few things that were not yet clarified based on the way that the statute was written and what the guidance was at that point. One of the things was with respect to the cap. There's this $100,000 cap in the legislation as far as what you're applying for in a loan. That cap, as drafted in the legislation, says it applies only to cash compensation, so salary, hourly wages, commissions, that sort of thing. The guidance had made it sound like it was an all-in cap, that if you were going to try and put your healthcare costs and that sort of thing in your calculation, that you had to exclude those, but that is not the case. So the Treasury has issued a series of FAQs, and you can find these on the Treasury's website or the SBA's website. And the FAQs make it clear that cap is not an all-in cap, it's cash compensation only. There was a question as to the time period to be used for determining your payroll expenses. The SBA and Treasury have clarified that you can either use 2019 or the most recent 12-month period. So you have some flexibility there. We're expecting that people are just going to look at whichever number produces the higher result and go with that. The SBA has clarified that payments to independent contractors and sole proprietors are not included when you are applying on behalf of an entity. As of this coming Friday, the SBA is opening up the program for applications from sole proprietors and independent contractors. So that will be a separate application. That amount will be reflected on that separate application. And then the last bit that was not clear last week was the effect of payroll taxes, employment taxes, and income tax withholding. The way the statute was drafted made it sound like you actually take those out in calculating your payroll costs. The SBA and Treasury have come out and they've said that no, in fact, you don't have to take those out. The employer portion is not included in there in the calculation, but the employees portion absolutely can be part of the loan. So some helpful clarification on those programs. One thing, and I don't remember if I mentioned this last week, but there's also the employee retention tax credit. So if you're keeping people employed, or if you're paying people who are not working because of the COVID-19 shutdown, there is a tax credit that's available the tax credit's only available if you don't take a loan under this Paycheck Protection Program. So if you're not inclined to go for the loan, remember that there is that tax credit out there that you could be eligible for. Finally, yesterday there was, I think it's Cranes is putting on a program in the next couple of days. You can find the link at the Cranes website. It's going to talk about the various programs that are available in the area. In addition to these federal programs, keep in mind that if you do happen to have an office within the city limits of Chicago, there's a Chicago program where you can get small loans. There's a state of Illinois program where you can get small loans as well. And now, excuse me, I understand Cook County is putting one in place as well. So I think that's a little bit less than 8 minutes, but that's the update.
Just one extra clarification. Did they ever determine whether the shareholder distributions falls under the 1099 thing?
No, and I don't think that the shareholder, at this point, based on the guidance, I would say shareholder distributions do not.
Bummer. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That works. Well, thanks so much. Is there any quick questions for Andrew while we have him on? If you so, virtually raise your hand. So if you want to raise your hand, if you're on an iPad device, you go to, or a phone, you go to more, and then you can see a virtual hand raise. If you are on a desktop, you can click participants, and then you can look in the lower right-hand corner, and you'll see raise your hand. So we'll give it a couple seconds. Are there any, I thought it was quite thorough, to be honest. So I don't think there's any stones left unturned. Also, if you guys have questions, Meredith is on moderating, and she can capture any of those in the chat, and I can forward those on to Andrew later, and we can deal with those then, I imagine. So,
absolutely, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so
You
much. So this is how we're going to roll this morning. I thought it would be, I like the idea of being interactive on these things and actually using our businesses in the call as examples as far as looking under the hoods of their specific business. So I'm going to actually ask for some volunteers for our team here to look under the hood of your marketing, social media, website, digital, those types, basically that area of focus, digital promotion, digital marketing, social media, website, anything like that in that category. And we're going to look under the hood and basically kind of workshop all the way through making a plan, making a strategy plan for your marketing, talk about content creation, and then distribution. So those three areas of focus. And then I'm going to have our panel jump on and give some ideas. If I don't see any hands, I'm going to blindly just choose one of our businesses on the call. And I'm totally cool about doing that. So I'm going to give it like maybe 3 seconds. Actually, while we're doing that, I'm going to actually get Caitlin and Danny. I'm going to unmute you guys. You know what? It would also be helpful if our panel can raise their hands so they're easier to find in the sea of people on my end. So from a production standpoint, it makes it a little easier. So if Greg, raise your hand, Karen, raise your hand. Sweet. Oh, that makes it so much easier. So Danny and Caitlin, we'll start with you. While we're waiting for some brave businesses to raise their hand, let's actually talk about strategy, because I think that's really the first. When you have a client come in and you're going to be doing their social plan or their digital plan, I imagine that's where you start, is strategy. Am I off on that, or is that correct?
No, that's 100% correct. So strategy is kind of like the nucleus of everything. The first thing that we do with brands is we sit down and we come up with a very clear brand message for you. And that could change right now. There's so much changing. So maybe your brand message needs to be tweaked a little bit as well. And then we work on your value proposition. again, something that really could be changed right now. If you're able to pivot your business and to help someone in need right now, whether that's like a parent who's homeschooling, entertaining their children, or just bored, stuck at home, how can your business change their value proposition to meet the needs? And then from there, it's really creating the social media strategy, creating the content.
We also like to start with something that we call a social media profile makeover. So we will look at your social media and we kind of have our own guidelines of what we believe is, working with our other clients for their profiles. So we'll go through and see how you have it set up, and then we'll analyze it and figure out how it can be better and present that to you as well. Because your social media profile, specifically your Instagram at this time, is your virtual business card. That's the first thing that people are seeking out after they meet you, to see, how you are showing your presence digitally to the world. So the profile makeovers are really, actually, it's kind of a fun thing to plan with people. So that's another important thing we do.
Cool. Okay. So getting into that, actually, I'm going to I'm putting my sights on a couple here. Let's start with I Want Candy. Are we cool with this? Can I pick on you?
Sure.
All right, cool. There you go. So I Want Candy, obviously a really, really, really fun business. And they do both, they're doing online and they also have a storefront. So they have that unique ability to get both. I imagine, Chris, your walk-up business is gone, obviously, or are you guys? I mean, when we talked last, it was 25% walk-up and then 75% online.
Right.
Are those still?
No, actually. So a lot of people really don't realize that our web or online lollipop sales is basically all museums, and since all the museums are closed, we have nothing right now.
Okay.
So what we actually did is put all our retail candy online. This is the very first time we've ever done this, and it has actually helped us tremendously. All our walk-up is curbside service, or we're actually shipping it to their house. Sometimes we're doing special deliveries for some people. If they're really close and we're on our way to leave, we will actually deliver it to them and drop them off at their porch.
Okay.
So like right now you could see, like right behind me, these are all local pickups. They just started calling in at 8 o'clock this morning, and they'll be here anytime within the hour picking up. So right now that's basically what's saving us.
Right. How much?
Doing
cool.
that.
And speaking of just the value proposition, I know a lot of people are pivoting their plans for Easter. Have you thought about, candy and Easter? Have you thought about?
So actually last week,
or something like that?
Yeah. So last week what I did is I made a bunch of Easter baskets. I put them online on Instagram. I shared it with the village, and we sold over 50 Easter baskets, and we shipped them all over the country. Right now we have 15 baskets waiting to be made. I actually had to order more baskets, something we weren't actually expecting, but I am so glad that we were here for everyone, because this way no one is going to the stores, no one's going shopping, they're staying home. So we're doing it all for them and helping them out. And that's what
I Want Candy, have you posted that on the Clarendon Hills Facebook pages, the moms pages?
Yes, actually the moms page is actually what is helping us. They spread the word yesterday.
Okay.
They emailed over 20 people yesterday to help us out too.
Great. You should, if you're making some baskets today, you should take a couple pictures and post some more.
Okay, I can totally do that.
Okay.
Cool. So let's kind of reel it in as far as strategy. So obviously the way that we're pivoting is, and I'd like to get some insight on this, is are we, for the next 90 days, when a national crisis is happening, we're allowed to do a hard sale, right? But what's the finesse on that? What's that area that that line that we're, you know, I'm just not sure where that is. Maybe if we can talk about that for a little bit. Having that empathy while being, I mean, we're still in business. We still have to sell. We still have to move product. So
Right. And
how does that work?
absolutely, Chris is solving a very, needed problem. People want to have a normal Easter. They want to be able to deliver an Easter basket for their children, and she's making that easy. She's keeping people at home. And I think that is enough value proposition. One question I have for Chris is, can we get a Clarendon Hills logo made with your regular lollipops that you normally would be shipping? And can all our businesses be including those with their takeouts? Or could we be offering those to our, coming together as a Clarendon Hills? Or can we put the All in Illinois logo that's being branded out there by Mayor Lightfoot and Pritzker and create lollipops with those? I feel like people would potentially see it as a great way to support you and buy those in bulk for their homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think another really fun campaign for you will be that the Easter Bunny has been deemed an essential business. So just that the Easter Bunny is still delivering.
Yeah. Actually,
And that is from the White House.
Actually, what I'm doing is dressing up as the Easter Bunny. I have my aunt making a mask that's going to go over the Easter Bunny's face. And Saturday,
Cute.
we're going to be handing out candy. So anyone who does a local pickup, we're going to be, I'm going to be handing it out to them. And we're also going to do free cotton candy and free lollipops to all the kids that are walking. Because there's a lot of people still walking in the town.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just going to hand them out as they walk past the store. So because no one gets to see the Easter Bunny this year, so I wanted to give them a chance to see him from a distance.
That's great.
Yeah.
And potentially
Another
go
fun
ahead.
thing strategically with brands who are worried about messaging is working through a third party. So working with influencers, we really see to be a huge success. So a lot of times if you're uncomfortable with, as a brand, like pushing sales, you can work through an influencer to help get the message out for you.
Okay.
Let's actually dive into that influencer marketing, because I'm imagining a lot of people on the call know it's a thing, but does not know how it works, and that in some cases it may be the one of the best marketing tools that you have as far as on Instagram. Can you give an outlook of what influencer marketing is and how a local brand would go about using an influencer to drive sales?
Yeah. Kate, do you want to start with this or?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Caitlin and I have positioned ourselves interesting in the social media world. We have our own popular lifestyle blog and Instagram in Chicago called Once Upon a Dollhouse. And then we have our social media business, Dollhouse Social. So we've created a nationwide network of influencers that we have become close with over the years. So we have like a personal relationship with these people who have very expansive audiences all over the realm. So there's lifestyle, health, beauty, I guess wellness and health go together, but we call them two separate. Food influencers, you name it, do DIY project influencers, mommy bloggers. So that would be very beneficial to you, Chris, is to link you in with the mommy bloggers that, we've been following along with, who have kids at home right now. And they are really trying so many creative ways to keep them entertained and happy. And LaCroix just rolled out a really interesting campaign. They have a new flavor that I don't even think it's released yet, but they delivered to a plethora of influencers. I think there was 50 of us in the Chicagoland area. Caitlin and I were a part of this campaign, and they delivered to us a case of their new flavor with a nice little letter. And so all their ask was that we post about it on our story. because there's a 40, as you know, there's a very large increase right now in what is being viewed on social media. There's a 40% increase of user activity. So this program reached so many more people than they imagined that it would. So for you, utilizing these mommy bloggers during this time for Easter, you would send it to them in advance. That's how this particular program would work. And then they would promote you for Easter. And then to even get ahead of it, I'm not sure if you have your next holiday planned of what you'll be doing, but then you can have them promote that as well as at this time. So we totally create the program with you, what you have going on, and then we can get really creative with it to make sure that like everyone's talking about your business, what you have going on, and then once you see how excited the kids are over everything. And it seems like you could do more than just Easter, because candy as a whole right now is something that makes people very happy. So we could get a lot more creative with it. But it's about figuring out putting together the custom plan of what you want to do, how we see it being implemented, and then we go ahead and we do all the busy work for you.
Chris, I have a couple ideas as well. First of all, I haven't been in downtown Clarendon Hills lately, but if you don't have big signs in your window that can be seen from the street, letting people know that you're doing this, do that. Do that today, because you want people who are walking by to know, because not everyone's on social media. I have a lot of friends who just don't use it because they don't want to see the negativity right now. So to catch them, to catch maybe the grandparents. Second of all, on all your posts, are you sharing them on Instagram and Facebook at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you're putting a share link, like a share? Yeah, okay, great. Because then, not that, we're influencers, but some of us moms, if we see something good, then we can share it on, there's a couple groups that I follow, I used to live in LaGrange, so there's a group called Moms of LaGrange Park, Western Springs, that has almost 9,000 in its audience. That would be someplace I would try to join and post this. And then also Real Housewives of Hinsdale. They have a pretty large following too. And if you sent them this Easter basket just for this week, and then later on other ideas, I think those would be two places you could reach a ton of people, besides this great influencer idea, locally, that could probably bring you in a lot of business.
Okay.
Yep, those are all good ideas. So it kind of begs the question too, getting back to the influencer, can you explain really quick, without actually using real numbers, how that transaction works with a local business that wants, so let's say they have a website and they want to push. Well, let me ask this question first. Are there such thing as local influencers?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So explain what that model looks like, maybe given to where 75% of their audience is in a 10-mile radius of a specific.
Yeah. So what we do is we do the research aspect of that. So we're finding the influencers based on the location tags as well as the different specific hashtags. We'd have to figure out your delivering radius, of course. That's also plays a role in it. So that's one way that we're hand selecting the influencers. And then what you do is you make everyone an individual code. You could either do one code for the entire campaign, or you do individual codes that can be used on your website for, we like to encourage businesses some people want to do discounts. We like to encourage including a gift with purchase instead of discounting your service. So say you have someone order the Easter baskets, you can have influencers have a code that includes a little extra something, versus you hear a lot of 10% off, 15% off. You could pretty much do whatever you want. We just like to do added versus discounted. So a code would really help track that ROI. And you also just what we do is you have to pay attention to the patterns of awareness, because sometimes these campaigns take time. Whereas this first campaign around, you may not sell out of what you're doing, but then like the next one and the next one, you see a significant increase in from the previous campaigns bring in an influx of orders because you're spreading the word.
Right.
Hey, Eric, do we have?
I think another,
Oh, go ahead, Caitlin. I'll go ahead.
Go ahead. Kim.
okay. I was just going to say another really tactical thing we use is the authentic scarcity. So for a limited time, we have this offering or something special for the community in specific, I think would be great for your brand as well.
So just getting back to that, so you guys are in a position where you can find a specific influencer, and you guys are the connection point of that. Am I-
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right. Mhm.
So can you walk, because our businesses are probably like, well, how does the payment structure work? Are you paying for a post? Are you paying for a series of posts? And what are they looking at dollar wise when they're looking? And I'm sure the dollar amount has to do directly with the amount of followers that they have. Am I off on that? Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Well, so we do it a few different ways. So we can try our best to work out a trade. That's like the first and foremost best way to use an influencer program. How Caitlin and I charge for the program is based on how many influencers we're reaching out to, because that's the way to best fit within people's budgets. So there could be someone who wants to reach 100 influencers. Their budget's going to look much different than someone who wants to reach between 10 and 20. So for the client, that's how we figure out the cost for them. And then our first step of the program is to see how many influencers we can work with on trade. So trading the Easter basket in exchange for this amount of posts. And then some influencers that we
Which,
have
because of the timing right now with everything going on, a lot of influencers are being a lot more generous with accepting trades. So
yeah, which usually we're pretty good at having people work with us on that basis, again, because of the relationships we've created with them. And then if somebody comes back and wants some form of payment, then we reach out to the brand and see if they're willing to negotiate. And then we take it from there. It just depends on how badly they want to work with that specific person. So that's pretty much how like the payment structure works with something like that.
Right, and this is the great thing is if you have an influencer doing a post, so you get that you get that little bit of that credibility, social proof.
exactly.
But you can measure it, right? So it's not like a paper ad. Like you were mentioning that you get some sort of code or I imagine some sort of pixel that you would get or
Mhm.
specific landing page that you would create to that specific influencer, and then you can actually measure, is it working?
Yeah.
A lot of marketing, old school traditional marketing tools, you don't get that benefit. So
Chris, you should have like price point baskets too. If you're not doing that like 10, 20, 30. And
Yeah.
if there's any that you can have ready in the store and if for pickup for like an impulse purchase or somebody walking by, if you can do that, that would be great too.
Okay.
yeah.
And another reason of why we recommend that it's awesome at some point in your business to host an influencer campaign is because then you have a library of content that kind of lives on that you get to mix in with what you're posting. And again, it adds the authenticity to your brand.
Well, and I think too that doing the influencer, you know, you're expanding your audience past Clarendon Hills. You're expanding your customer base past well, I know now you're, doing the museums, but I mean actual moms who might regularly use you from other like downtown or whatever.
Right.
I mean, in moving down the road when, we're all able and life kind of moves forward in a new way and people are going to the museums again and you're doing that as well, there's still a way to do like an awesome influencer program, sending influencers to the museum and promoting your product there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do that with a lot of our brands we're hopefully we have to see how everything's gonna, shake out, but sending people to stores to purchase products and boosting sales. And there's so many different ways to involve influencers in the growth of your brand. So it's like, it's a very multifaceted benefit to your brand.
Yep, absolutely. So one question that I think gets asked a lot, and I think it's fair to say that between Meredith, who does a lot of our marketing, has noticed one thing, that our businesses are not posting enough. So if we're talking about strategy, we're talking about frequency. So let's take
Oh yeah.
platform specific.
Yep.
What are we looking at as far as okay, Instagram post, local business, I want candy. How often should they be posting a day? And then what are those posts? What are some ideas as far as what type of posts they should be posting? And Chris, you're our video guy, so you can chime in here. What type of post should they be posting? And what metrics should they look at if they're, because I know there's that thing, like if you have a certain amount, you don't want to post too often, but a lot of time, I think a lot of our businesses think one or two times a week is enough, and it's not, right?
Yeah. So I will say specifically for Instagram, our brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than text. So taking those images and creating content is going a long, long way. So please keep that in mind when you're creating content. And then before COVID happened, individuals were scrolling through 300 feet of social media a day, just scrolling on their mobile devices. So now that usage is up by 40%. And someone has to see your brand offering a minimum of 9 times in order to consider a purchase. So there's a lot of clutter happening right now on social. Everyone's posting. So you need to constantly be putting yourself out there.
So with that,
and that means stories as well.
Specific numbers, Kate, we recommend that on your Instagram. We were doing every other day with our clients, because you don't want your posts to compete with themselves. We never recommend posting more than once in a day, because that way, you know, you're probably just getting traction on one post. You throw something else up, then people are like, what do I like? Like, so every other day is very healthy on every social platform right now. We were doing it less frequently on Facebook, probably more like 3 times a week, but I would say on every platform, fire your posts every other day at the same time across platforms.
I think when you're posting, post with purpose though. Don't be repetitive, and try to, like, I see there's a ton of realtors on here, and I actually work for 2 realtors, and I think, you know, some of the things you could be putting out there is, for example, you could be, a lot of people are going through and clearing their closets, and, you know, they might be considering putting their house on the market. This is a great time to be doing video chats and getting their house prepared, because having sold, let's see, I've sold 2 houses before this one. There's a lot more that you don't realize you have to do before you list, and they could be using this time to kind of prepare or talk. Just, you have to remind them that you're still available to them if, you know, through video, or if they want to move to the area, that through careful planning, you can be showing them homes, you can be sending them virtual tours, because a lot of people don't just immediately make that connection.
Right. True.
But make it, you know, make it so that it's a different and not repetitive, because just don't do it without a purpose.
Yeah, so we like to say that there is definitely an art and science to planning your social content. So when we plan content, we typically do it a month in advance. Now we're kind of working on a week-to-week basis because of what is going on in the world, but there definitely is an art and science. You do want to be pushing out consistent messaging across the board, but you need some things in between, you know, so it's not the same thing in a row all the time. So definitely think of the art and the science of it.
We like to call it a lifestyle element. So you're telling a story with what you're doing. But right now, like example being, if your business is a restaurant, right? We know that's an industry right now that's really hurting, one could say. one day you could be posting about, everything's probably going to be about takeout right now or delivery, but you can show like different aspects of what you're doing.
You could talk about the
from
history as well. You could say we've
Yeah.
been in business
food
since.
preparation. One thing that we have been recommending to restaurants is to start doing like a cooking segment on your social media, and just really showing all the elements of how your food is going from creation to out the door, and how you're, being very safe about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, Chris.
Realtors, I had one more thing I wanted to share with you. So there's an app called Repost, and if you don't have the time or just you're not like super comfortable doing posts, if you see like a really good, for example, before and after staging, or if you see like follow some really good interior designers, and you see a room that's very inspirational and it's talking about, let's say, white kitchens, you can go into this app called Repost, give them credit, and then post it on your own site. And you're really not spending much time, and it's visually appealing. And then in the comments, you can make like, hey, if you think your remodel is here, maybe do a white kitchen or whatever. But anyways, it's only because we have a lot of realtors. I wanted to mention that too, that you can do Repost and it's not a lot of effort on your part.
Right.
Derek, if you ever wanted to, I mean, it's probably pretty lengthy at this point for this call, but we could do another call where we talk about different apps and tools that can be used for social
Great
media
idea.
that are helpful.
We'll plan that on the next one, because I think
Okay.
that's definitely a
Mhm.
something we can dive into for sure. And I like that. So is that repost thing? Does that mean that so I kind of look at that world as you're DJing music rather than creating it from the ground up. You're replaying stuff that
But you're giving them credit. So
Right.
basically, yeah, you're following, let's say, like I follow different interior designers. I see something visually appealing that I think, will pull people in. And then I do it's a very easy thing. You pull down, you say, copy, and then, or share a link or something like that. Then you go to the Repost app, and then you're able to post it onto your site and give them credit in the bottom left-hand corner. So they're getting credit. They're happy because you might be then increasing their follower base too. I had a post that I did for my realtor where we posted from a lighting, because we're talking about how lighting can transform a room, and that like blew up. And I think it's what Caitlin's saying, the 40% more people are following, on Instagram right now. Take advantage of that. Take advantage. And anyways, we could do a whole nother call on that. Hashtags is a whole nother thing we could get into, but just short and sweet. Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah, and plus you don't have to make that original content. I think that's
Exactly.
that's the idea of DJing. I know maybe the organic, I'm not sure about repost, but I imagine the organic views might take a hit on doing just a straight up link share or content post rather than original content, but it's still nice to help fill in the day. So you said posting once every other day. I want to go back to that. And I just want to be devil's advocate here, is if our organic reach, let's say we have a following of 1,000 people on our Instagram. What's our organic reach now? Is it 5%? Or I know it's dependent on shares, likes, and let's talk about what is the organic reach now and what influences that organic reach.
I think what you have to do to we could sit here and throw out a number that we don't really know, because in your Instagram you have an analytics. You have an analytics portion, and so you can go back and look and see, analyze a week pre-COVID and see, because you can literally go
Everyone's organic reach is also going to depend on how active they are on the app. So it depends on how often you are actually engaging with other people, as well as how much they are engaging with you. So it really is going to vary person to person.
But if somebody wants to find out that exact number, you can go view your insights pre-COVID and see exactly what you know, you'll have like a screen that tells you at the bottom all of that, and you can look and see a week prior and then what's going on now. And if you feel like yours isn't as high as you'd like it to be, then like Caitlin said, you need to spend more time interacting.
Okay, so that makes a huge difference, is actually interacting when someone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And comments, it's more about just the like an authentic comment is going to help with your algorithms more than just mindless liking things.
So that so
And
It's the
hashtags
same
help
thing
too.
as your, oh yeah. It's the same thing as your interpersonal relationships though. Like you're going to get out of it what you put in. So if you are never calling your friend on the phone, they're not going to pick up the phone and call you. They're not going to seek out your contact. So you constantly have to be interacting with people.
right.
And if you're not sure where to start, one of our favorite places to tell our clients to start is with their favorite hashtag. So I'd have to look up what hashtags are specific to your area.
You could do location as well.
Location, but Karen probably knows which hashtags are most popular where you guys are. I haven't really looked at it, but you can pick one of those popular hashtags and spend time, because we have time right now. Our interaction's a little over the top. We like to do an hour each in the morning, an hour each in the afternoon, and an hour each in the evening, basically for all of our clients. So we'll pick a hashtag, say we're going to do the Chicago hashtag today, and we'll sit there and we'll like and leave a meaningful comment, which is more than an emoji, more than 2 words, like a sentence pertaining to the caption of the picture, because you have to read both, because sometimes the picture and the caption have nothing to do with each other. So interact and engage with those hashtags.
Cool.
So
Hey,
let me tell you the hashtags real quick because Danny mentioned it. So hashtag Clarendon Hills, hashtag Clarendon Hills IL, and then for the real estate agents, hashtag Clarendon Hills Real Estate. That's just to get you started. And any of you can go into the search button on Instagram and type in these, and you can see how many posts there have been. So you can see how popular or not popular a certain hashtag is. But that'll help in defining, like, if somebody is following that hashtag, you know, then anybody who's interested in Clarendon Hills then is, you know, that they were following the hashtag, they'll see it. I know it helps like grow with your, you know, with your followers too. But anyways,
cool.
a couple.
Hey, Christopher, I want to bring you in. You're a video guy today. Let's talk about the importance of doing video, and then let's talk about what types of video people can be doing, short form, long form, and then let's talk about DIY, how to do it on your own, because it's not like you guys are a production company. You're probably not coming into a lot of businesses right now, so you're almost taking a role. I'm imagining you can take a role as a consultant, helping people from afar do their video, figure out that video piece of the content, because I think I think video does great on Facebook, almost better than a standard pick. And I think it's also one thing, let's go back to contextual. Each one of these platforms that we're talking about, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn now is getting very much into the organic game if you do B2B. But also each one of these platforms has a different deal going on. We can't like to go ahead and take your Hootsuite and just post everything, the same piece of content across the board at the same time on every single platform is not necessarily seen as a good practice, a best practice. So Christopher, if you can kind of weigh in on the video front and maybe give us our thing on video.
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody, I'm Christopher Dorsano. I own a video production company in Warrenville. So basically right now everybody's having to hit that reset button. What we were doing 3 weeks ago is not working for what we're doing today. And we see that with all our ads that we're putting out on Facebook, Instagram, any social media platform that you were marketing with. And a lot of people are either not having the time to do it because they're focusing on how to shift their business, or they're hiring other companies to actually do it for them. So there is 2 different scenarios there. We mentioned earlier about influencers. Influencers are a great way to promote your business in a time of necessity. So like if someone is not having the time to right now deal with the marketing side, influencers can really bring in your message. They're doing videos every day anyway. For them to add a little drop of your branding and your name, that really helps create content for you that you don't have to create on your own. So when I'm looking at a company, I'm looking at what makes them unique, what makes their value different from what other companies are doing. And usually I learn that by the content that they're putting out, either on their social media platform, on their website, whatever it may be. But in today's world, you don't just go to the local market store and learn, okay, there's my chiropractor, here's my dentist. Everyone used to stay so local. People have so many options today. So you really need to educate them as much as possible. And one thing that I've noticed with all my clients is they say, oh, Chris, it's hard for me to pull out my phone every day and shoot myself on video. I get it, right? I mean, it's hard to put yourself out there every single day, let alone just to do it once. So one thing that we've created is what's called batching. Normally we would do a 3-month batch campaign, but as we had mentioned earlier, things are moving so quickly right now that you kind of need to go week by week. But what batching is you actually film a bunch of videos about a campaign in advance. So you say, like, let's say Easter's coming up, right? So you're going to film a whole week's worth of content about Easter and what products and services you want to offer. And you're going to go into your Hootsuite or any other social media platform that you're using and schedule out those videos. And you're going to shoot those videos on one day. You're going to take 2 hours and you're just going to film all of them. Once you did the first one, the next one just gets easier. The next one just gets easier. The next one gets easier. So you're not having to every day think about, oh, I got to shoot another video. Oh, here we go again. And I understand it becomes time consuming and you got to put on your makeup. You got to do all these things. And then all of a sudden you catch yourself being worn out and you're not focusing on what's important, which is the structure of your business. So that's something that we help brands kind of recognize, is how to utilize your time to value in different economic periods. So right now, I think influencers is a great benefit, but also just educating your clients. Who are you? Put yourself out there. Let people see that you're still here. You're still working hard. You're still providing value for people. I think creating value is the best thing you could possibly do right now.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I like the batching idea because then you're putting in a direct focus, all your effort, and then you can slowly drip feed that out. And then when we're talking about types of videos, let's go ahead and maybe just really quickly go over those different categories of what that looks like. So we can do, I think right now for the next 90 days, I think the focus should really be on storytelling, right? So we're basically telling the story, an interesting story, and getting personal behind the brand itself. So since we're not going to be doing a hard sell, people want to know who the person behind the brand is, or who the family behind the brand is, who the staff members are. Maybe get a little personal and a little more transparent. I think this is by the way, this is probably what we should have been doing before a shutdown. So this is nothing new. But how can we tell those stories? Video is a great way to tell the story. Maybe give a few examples of the video storytelling, how we can put that. And then we're not looking at making a full-length movie. Literally, we could be, let's talk about the difference between doing short form, long form. What is considered short form versus long form?
Yeah. That's a good question. A lot of people always ask me what length of video is the best length for my business. And it really depends on what you're doing. So if you're doing Instagram posts, Facebook posts, they only limit you to a certain time frame. And there's a reason for that, because people's attention spans are different than when you do on your website. So when you're doing something on your website, if you have a very complex business, if it takes you a half an hour to explain what your business does and how it operates, you're going to have a longer video. So to answer your question about the length of video, it really depends on where you're putting it and the type of business you have. So it's kind of it's based on the scenario. But storytelling, to answer your other question about telling yourself story, yeah, I think people should have been doing this the entire time of their businesses. Is who are you and why are you doing what you do? I think when people can connect with the business owners of who they are and justifying why they're doing what they're doing, they can buy into not only the product or services that they're selling, but also who they are as a company. I know a lot of people in Clarendon Hills that I've worked with personally, they're all family owned businesses. When I hear like their grandfather started this shop and they've been, helping the community by doing this, this, and this, like I feel much more connected with that person. Me personally, I want to know, why are you doing what you're doing? And then are you providing a good value for me, right? So education, I think, is the best type of video to be putting out right now. Education on your product, your service, and who you are. And if you did one video about who you are and you thought that everyone saw it, they didn't. So you can do the same message, the same about you video, literally for months, and it might just start picking up like on that third month. So you really just want to keep relaying that message.
Strategically, when we're creating content and content calendars, we like to do like a 1, 2, 3 punch. And the first thing we do is we introduce your brand, tell your brand story. And then the second is create intrigue. How are you showing value? And then not until the third are you selling. So creating the brand message and the brand affinity and that trust with your consumers is huge.
And we also have recommendations on video timing. What we have learned over the years is that 30 seconds, between 30 and 45 for Instagram is ideal. 30, if you could keep it at 30 seconds, that's amazing. 45, that's okay. Facebook, we recommend 45 seconds to a minute. And then YouTube, you can talk on there for an hour if you want, and that's fine.
And that's why we're talking about contextual. Like every platform has its own nuances, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're doing Facebook ads, you're going to see your conversions go way up if you can keep it in that 30-second. That's why they're making that point of keeping it shorter on those mediums, because they just want to click the learn more or call now button. If they like what they're seeing, they're going to act fast. They're not going to watch a 10-minute video.
Right.
We see video is king.
Yep.
Or queen.
And you find that more so video
Always converts better.
Okay, that's what I was. I was lost for words for some reason.
Yeah.
But it converts more than a picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even if the video is not that great, you're going to get more clicks on that than a photograph.
Okay.
Annie, Caitlin, Chris, I have a question. What about captions? Do you always do a video with like the caption underneath? What is your opinion on that?
Well, they limit your caption too, like how many words
You're talking about subtitle?
Subtitle, yeah.
Oh, subtitle.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Because I see videos that go by and I'm somewhere where I can't be the volume, and I was just curious because I just don't know a lot about the conversion on that or the importance of that.
First, do we have a data point on who's not listening to the volume on their videos? Who's not turning it up?
A lot of people have
a lot of people. I don't know the exact, maybe Christopher, if you know. I don't know the exact, but I barely ever personally listen to the audio.
I know it's gone up. I know it's gone up over time because, and here's why, I think personally, is people used to be at their office with a bunch of people around them. So they were just watching their phone and just reading the text. Now they're all in their homes. No one's monitoring them. So they're actually listening. So it's gone up. I don't know the number though.
I think to answer your question, Karen, it depends on what your video is. And if text fits in the video, then you should put it there. Some people also will put in the caption volume up, turn like sound on is typically what people say. So if captions fit, subtitles fit there, go for it. If they don't put them. The cleaner the video looks, the better.
Right. Let's talk about, because we want to give these businesses marching orders. Okay. So, and what I'm finding in these workshops is we're like basically trying to take a drink out of a fire hose with the amount of content that we're giving them. And then I think the next, few months, I mean, we can literally talk about just video for one session. We can literally talk about content calendar for one session. We can literally talk about hashtags for one session. And tools. So I think moving forward, we're going to do that because we're really trying to almost stuff too much in one thing. So that being said, let's give some marching orders here, and then I'm gonna get Greg on at the end so he can talk about capturing leads really quick before we dive out. We might go a little over the hour mark, but I think that's okay because we're content.
Don't forget those examples.
Oh yeah, we can do that too. And so let's talk about content calendar. Each day, each business. So I know there's those motivational Mondays, takeout Tuesday. There's things that are in culture that they can do, because I think that's the same thing. Is we want variety. We want a sense that we're doing something different each day and don't want to get stale. So I think what do you guys think about the concept of having your own Monday thing that's unique to your business, having your own Tuesday thing, having your own Wednesday thing that isn't necessarily like a society mandated day, but something that's unique to your business. So when you have your content calendar, like for me with music, it may be Songwriting Sunday, where we show new songs, or Improvise Monday, where we go on and do a live stream making something up, New Student Tuesday. I think business, do you see value in that as a part of the content calendar as far as making it interesting?
I absolutely do. And I think that people love to see that continuity, and they want to know what they're getting from you when they go to their page. So if you're doing Songwriting Sunday and that's something that I personally am interested in, I know I'm going to go to your page every Sunday. Or you could look at a lot of people in the fitness community right now. They're doing lives on specific days, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I know exactly when my favorite yoga teacher is going live.
Right.
Yeah, being original and consistent. Original, consistent, authentic.
Right. So, and then, so basically do you think so making that a part of the strategy is probably good and sticking to it just so you have that variety sense?
It
Okay.
helps. It helps with your algorithm as well. So, like, depending on what platform you're doing it on, the different platforms will actually promote those videos if you continue to do it on a regular basis.
Right. Okay. So you're putting that out there. So now so I say marching order number one to all businesses is think about what your calendar looks like. So what is that? What is that? What's your Monday look like? What's your Tuesday? Come up with really cool ideas that are consistent. You could even jump on the motivational Monday, but kind of see what that is for your business.
Yeah.
So step one, let's just say create your calendar, and then we have to actually schedule this stuff out. And what type of content is it going to be? A still? Is it going to be a short form video? I don't know if I'm on the same, like, I don't know where I stand with doing only one post every other day. And I'd love to even have a quick conversation about this, is because since if our natural organic reach is only 5%, isn't it very difficult to be redundant posting 4 times a day? Isn't it good? In theory, isn't it going to reach different people that won't necessarily see that one post? How do you guys explain that?
Well, people only see what's the newest, what's at the top, or what's live. So once it gets pushed down your feed on whatever platform it is, it's the likelihood of it actually being seen becomes less and less. So
in stories, but not in your feed, because your feed is not based on a timeline anymore. So what happens is the more interactions you get on a post, the more it's going to be seen. So the more like sticky that content becomes.
Okay.
But
So
once you start, I understand what he's saying a little bit. So once you start posting multiple times a day, this is what we were saying, where the posts start kind of fighting for each other. Once that post is kind of like moved down on your grid. So say we post 2 times in a day, Caitlin, our second post isn't going to get the first one we put up isn't going to get as much love as the one we just threw up.
So
that's why you want to give it time to breathe.
I was going to say one thing too, is that you got to be careful. If it makes sense to post every day, great. But you also don't want to be putting something up there and then you're losing followers because they're not seeing value in you anymore.
Well, you'll also lose followers if you're an over poster.
Right.
Right. Okay. So
I do think that because of the current circumstances, we originally always recommend every other day. I do think that you can now post every day.
Every day.
Not more than once a day. But you also have to make sure that you're keeping up your end of the bargain and interacting with your following, not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing if it fits.
right, and what Karen's point was, not just posting for the sake of posting, but making sure that it's quality over quantity.
And that it adds value. So you want to think of your social media not as a selfish thing, like, oh, look what I'm doing. You want to show constantly the value that you're giving to the community.
One of my favorite advertising professors always sticks in my head. It's one of the first things I tell all my clients is always think about what's in it for me, meaning what's in it for me, the customer, what's in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're doing a post. Hey Sue, you're the college planner. I had two things I wanted to tell you. First of all, that whole like doing something every day of the week. If you start recruiting people when their kids are freshmen, maybe you could have freshman Fridays and sophomore Thursdays. I don't know, something like that, where people of a different high school, maybe they could do a different day, and they could always know that they should check in depending on what age their kid is. And the other thing that I've seen too is there's a lot of colleges, because you can't visit on in person, they're doing virtual tours. So maybe you could, like, when you see a good college's tour, maybe you could say, hey, we know you can't visit, but I'm sharing something that, like, because a lot of kids here go to U of I, or a lot of kids here go to Alabama or Colorado, Boulder. Maybe share that sort of stuff, so you're a place to kind of filter and give people who are looking at colleges the most important information, and then hopefully increase your followers, and then increase hopefully into customers eventually.
Yeah, great ideas. Thanks.
I like it. I think, and then I also, the other point, and then I'm going to move on to Greg, is this whole concept of, instead of creating, documenting. And Gary Vee is a big advocate of this. Is you're documenting. It's a lot less work to document than it is to create some high-end, overly produced piece of content. So people like to see the raw and real behind the scenes of the running of your business. And I think the posts that work better for us are the ones that, like, I took out the phone. I didn't care about the lighting. I didn't care about it was just a real scene interaction with a customer or a client or a family member, or shenanigans in the background. And I think those are the things, and especially those work really well with story. We didn't even get into the story, but story is not your feed, right? So a story you can post way more frequently on.
Yeah.
Okay. So Instagram.
And some people look more at stories than they do their feed.
Yeah,
and it's super easy on your phone to just, the story is where your picture is on Instagram. It's that blue plus sign. If you hit that and then go into like your photo library, it can pretty much convert your photo into then the story length, because story is a little longer. But I always post on both, because you'll gain followers from both.
Right. Absolutely. Hey, Greg, I want to put you on, and we kind of got nerdy on the social media and marketing thing, but
do you have any idea how much I learned? That was fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. Like, I'm the hardware guy and the software. I know sales, but I learned so much in this past hour. Thank you so much. Because it turns out I'm also the marketing director now. With our small company, so that's a lot of info I found very, very useful. Thank you so much.
So just giving Greg a prep. He works for a company called Rake, and we just installed it on our website. And basically what it is it's this whole concept of having direct conversations with your clients. So I can have I can have a client go on my webpage and I'm alerted and I know exactly what page they're looking for at what point, and I can interact with them at that moment. And what it is you basically and correct me if I'm wrong, I may butcher this, but it's the whole concept of being able to initiate an actual conversation with someone who's interested at that very moment that they're looking at your website, so they don't just jump off your website and go to someone else. You're catching them and having a human interaction. Maybe if you can give a brief just how that works, a 5-minute thing about how that works and the importance of it, because it's all about retaining that customer at that time of purchase.
Well, you know what? That's exactly what it does. So if somebody lands on your website or your Facebook Messenger, wants to two-way SMS text your business, they have all the capabilities. And really what it is about delivering a consistent customer experience across multi-channels of communication. So when somebody comes to your website, like Derek was just describing, you can see where they're physically located. So it helps with if they're in your service area, depending on your business. You can also see what content they're looking at. And you have the capability of sending them a message saying, like, I've noticed that you're looking at, let's take for a landscaper, our spring cleanup deals. Would you like to know about what we do and the specials we're offering at 10% off? They're all highly, highly customizable, and it's a very, very easy to use. And what it does, it funnels all those communication mediums into one spot. So you don't have to always be checking your Facebook. You don't always have to be going back and looking at the analytics for your website. It comes into one spot, and it also has a mobile app. So you don't have to be tied to your desktop all the time.
Right.
It's very specific and customizable to each and everyone's business. So it's very unique, as everyone's business is. And consistency is the key, we've found. And keeping somebody engaged and on your website while looking at your product at that time is how they don't start to, do the click and drop and go to somebody else's website because they want the immediate attention, just like somebody came into your storefront. Hey, can I help you with, blah, 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 right, for each and every business. And it's that customer interaction that you can deliver. And it's also the immediacy, once again, that consumers are expecting, like they're typing something into Google. And if anybody wants to talk about it more, and I can show specifically in each business context how it could help, I would love to.
And we'll
say, we can have any questions.
Yeah, I guess if anybody has any questions about the SMS thing and messaging, I should add, even before we move on, because I know we have to jump off soon because people have businesses to run. But another thing too is, if you don't want to be the one actually sitting there waiting for someone to have the conversation, they do have staff and virtual messenger, like people, humans, not bots, that can actually have the message or have the conversation with your potential client and then pass that along, which is really cool, because while you're running your business, you can have someone in the background having that conversation. I think I'm going to end it off with Shelly. Shelly is great, really awesome at looking at reinvention and pivoting and kind of marching orders as far as what we need to be doing in the next 90 days as businesses, not just in marketing, but I think also if we're looking at what our offerings are and how we're going to reinvent our business. And I'm going to say that even if this, let's call this 100-day thing, where after 100 days, we can start trickling into some sense of normalcy. I think moving beyond this, it may be fair to say that we're forever changed in the way, and I could be totally off because I'm not Nostradamus, but in how our customers are going to how we're going to relate to our customers and how we serve our customers. I think some of this virtual online stuff is going to stick, and it's it's forced everybody to really, really think hard. So I just wanted to get your final words from you on that.
Sure. I keep coming back to the fact that obviously we want to be planning long term and creating these relationships for when we become back to normal. But my brain continues to cycle on, well, what can we be doing to add value within those 90 days too? And continuing to be creative and thinking about ways in which you can directly meet needs. And to go ahead and experiment. It's okay if not everything works 100% right. That is how you're going to learn and see what works. For example, I have a daughter who's turning 15 this week, and she desperately would like to do something that doesn't involve parents and involves something other than just being, all of our teens right now, they're on virtual chats and things of this nature, but they don't have much structure. So we've created an online birthday party with Salon Sapphire because they're willing to kind of experiment and try this out. We're going to put 15 girls on Zoom with Carrie, and they're going to talk about whether they should or should not color their hair while they're home over this time, and if so, why they should not use Kool-Aid. We're going to teach them how to do some more braiding. We're going to give them some things that they can then continue to do on their own afterwards. And because we set it up early, all I can tell you is all they're doing is spinning and cycling and getting revved up there, is excited for the lead up. It doesn't probably even matter what even happens on that hour call, but to put them all in their bathrooms on Zoom with someone who's not their parent. And then I don't even have to pay Carrie. I make a nice donation through the GoFundMe, a very easy. I'd almost say when you do things like this, you don't even have to price it. Your patrons are going to pay you more than you would have charged them. And then word just kind of spreads and they tell their friends, and it's a way to make a little revenue, but also provide a service in a different way, connect in a different way. And I do think for every business, there's a little bit of a way to do this. If I was a restaurant right now, I would be taking everyone's phone numbers who are taking takeout from me, and I would have someone who just FaceTimes them while they're eating their meal at home and checks in and says hi. Chuck, if I were you at the Daily Scoop, I would take a day a week that I just put myself on FaceTime or Zoom, and you let all these people who love you as much as your ice cream, they really love you and they like to see you. And I would just sit there and talk to them for the 2 hours while I'm filling orders. I think creating just some connections with people out there. I'd love to see some more events get planned because I think people at home are looking for programming. All different people in the households are looking for programming and some things to make some days feel differently. And I think you could find a different way to interact that way too.
I love that. Hey, Mike, you had a question.
Hey, how are you guys? Let's see if I get my video on here. Sorry. My question was about a topic maybe for next time. An idea I had just through all this was about the cross-pollination concept. So I was thinking, as an example, you guys had the candy people who are doing baskets and things. Well, so it might be nice for Salon Sapphire, where we went and bought a bunch of baskets from them. And then we gave them out to families in the neighborhood saying, hey, Salon Sapphire is giving out these baskets, to the first 100 kids or whatever. It's a way for us to promote ourselves without pushing our services or products. It's a way for the candy people to get promoted because they can put all their literature and things in there. We can mention them. It seems like there's a lot of ways for us to help each other too. When you talk about influencers, where we can leverage each other's networks, where I might not be connected with a lot of the candy people and she might not be connected with a lot of the hair people, but together we can cross-pollinate. So I'm sure the marketing people have tons of ideas on that they can talk about, but today has been great. Thank you guys. Yeah,
I think what we're going to do next time, and I think is we need to narrow and focus, right? So we need to target certain areas of focus and target each call on one thing. Because I think today's good. We got the good, 10,000-foot view, but it is a lot to implement, and it is overwhelming. So I would say, as far as marching orders, I would say it's huge to be able to just figure out what your content calendar is. And you're going to have to start making and documenting and just really putting yourself out there posting wise. Let's get creative. Let's also think about those things that we can do to reinvent our business. So how many different offerings? The thing that Mike was talking about was networking with each other and see how we could bundle our services together. And all that can be done on Slack. There's no reason that every business that we have in the chamber has been put on the Slack channel. That's where all that networking should be happening and brainstorming. So I'd love to see them using that platform. Again, next 100 days is huge. We're definitely not victims. And I think that we can use this as opportunity, and we can use this as opportunity to really look at it as in a different way, and look at it, even though we got, it's kind of a bummer. I'm not putting a silver lining on this thing, but I think the ones that are going to win at the end are the ones that look at it as an opportunity. And what you do in the next 90 days is critical as far as the way that we come out on this thing at the end. And I think we could come out stronger. So until next time, this is the Business Troubleshooters Workshop, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.